Hello and welcome to the Ungrind. So for those of you that it's not your first time here and you kind of know what the channel is about, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have all my new subscribers. A lot of you came from Brittany in Africa and Karen's World, so hello, welcome. Welcome to all the new people that just clicked on it because the topic of getting out of debt and getting your money right was really interesting. Let me just tell you a little bit about the channel. So the Ungrind, we reject grind culture. We prioritize rest, recharging, receiving, and just living a life that you love. So I'm Michelle, I'm a physician from New York, and in February of 2020, I quit my job and I moved to Tanzania and then Kenya. So today I want to talk to you about how to get your money right? Like how to get yourself out of debt. Before you can do any type of ungrinding, you have to get your money right and you have to feel comfortable with your financial situation. So first things first, let's talk about the beginning because I was a mess money-wise. I had gotten a new job. I was making a great new salary. I was making $170,000 a year, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. Now this is 2009, and I just really got serious about my finances because I was like, I'm making way too much money to be living paycheck to paycheck. It didn't make sense. I had actually just bought a house, so I had a mortgage, I had car payment, I had just all these bills, my med student loans, a ton of bills. And for me, it just felt like every day I was paying something. So I got really smart about the way that I was approaching my finances. Now, there are a lot of apps that can do this, but I am old school. I did pen to paper, and I just wrote down specifically like my highest bills. I numbered like the bills that did not change. So I knew my mortgage wasn't going to change. I knew my car insurance wasn't going to change. My car payment wasn't going to change. My student loans. So I just put all of those first because regardless, no matter what I did, I couldn't change those bills. Like I couldn't save them away, right? So those were things that I knew had to get paid. And they had to get paid in a timely manner. The next thing I did was I listed all of my credit cards and the totals that were due on them and the interest rates. And then underneath that, I listed the things that could change. So like groceries, entertainment, shoe budget, and really just each pay period, I split out exactly how much money I was making and how much was coming out. And one of the things that I realized is my due dates were all over the place. So I contacted all the payers and had them, all of my creditors, and had them put my due dates in line with either pay period 1 or pay period 2. Once I had that all lined up, I was able to see, like, I actually have enough money to pay my bills. I'm just, because the pay periods were all over the place, I was just, money was just leaving. Now, once I had my bills all organized by pay period 1, pay period 2, I could prioritize which bills I wanted to get rid of. I could actually do a budget. Before then, I had no idea how much money I was left over at the end of each pay period. So that would be the first thing that I would say to do, is really sit down with a list and write out each bill, the due date, and how much money is going out with each of those bills. And if you can, contact each of those payers and and get your due dates within one or two of the pay periods. So you know at the end of a pay period exactly how much money you have done, you'll have left when your bills are done. I made everything direct deposit, so it didn't have anything to do with me. I didn't need to remember to pay anything. Like as soon as my check hit my account, my check hit my account on the 7th and the 21st of each month. So on the 9th, I set it to all my bills would be paid for that pay period. And then on the 23rd, all my bills would be paid for that pay period. So I knew on the 9th that whatever I had left in my account, I could spend and do what I wanted to. I would just not have any money until the 21st again. So it really took kind of the guessing and some of the onus off of me. In terms of the next thing I did was really assess my credit card debt. So at that time I had a MasterCard, I had a Macy's card, I had Bloomingdale's, I just had credit cards galore, right? And so on a separate piece of paper, I wrote down each of my credit cards, the balance that was due. So like, for instance, my Macy's card, it had a overall balance of like $2,000 and the monthly payment was about 200 and something. I'm totally guessing now, but you'll get it. So it was Macy's card, 200 during whatever pay period that was, and then the balance was, the total on the card was $2,000. And I did that with each of the credit cards. And I also put what was the interest rate. The interest rate is very important to know with each of your credit cards, because you could be paying your credit cards off and you're really getting nowhere because the interest rate is so high. So what I did is I prioritized each credit card based on the total amount due and the interest rate. And I picked the highest interest rate and the highest amount due and just knocked that one off, you know, and I just continued to do it over and over and over again. If there were like really kind of small balances, like, you know, maybe, I had a PC Richards card. PC Richards is like an electronics store, but anyway, you know, say that was only like $500 or whatever, I would just pay that, take one pay period and just pay that off and then cut that card completely. So where I could just get rid of any credit cards, I would just knock them out. Another thing that helped me with credit cards, and most people tend to ignore this, is balance transfer. So you get these weird things in the mail and they're like, you know, for 0%, we will transfer your balance over there. I'm sitting outside and there's all these bugs, but whatever, we will persist. Yeah, so balance transfers. So I started looking at these high interest credit cards. So I said one of my credit cards has an interest rate of 24%. I would transfer that entire balance over to one of these balance transfer credit cards. But it is very important. So for instance, what these balance transfers do is it'll be like, we'll give you $10,000, but for a 0% interest, but you have to pay it off in 18 months. And if you don't pay it off in 18 months, or you make one late payment, the interest rate will go up to 24%. So you have to make sure that if you balance transfer, you actually do the math of, one, making sure that you will pay that credit card off before the 18 months is over, so you don't get just another high interest rate, and you don't want to miss a payment because then again they'll have you. So for instance, with the example I just gave of let's say Citibank said they'll give you $10,000, but you have to pay it off in 18 months and it's 0% interest. So that's like $555 a month. So that would then be added to my budget of, knowing that I had to pay this card off. I had to add this $550 a month to my payoff amount. And that's another way that I really got a lot of my credit card debt down. So those are the two most important things that you should do in the beginning of your financial health journey. One, look at exactly how much money you have coming in, exactly how much money is going out. Get clear, on everything that you spend your money on, because then once you know exactly what you're spending your money on, you can decide, where am I going to slash things? And you'll find that you actually have a surplus of money once you stop spending your money on random stuff. And random stuff can also be all these late fees. So because I wasn't even clear on my due dates, sometimes I would get late fees on bills that I'm paying. I just didn't even know that that the bill was considered late. So it takes a little bit of time on the front end to really set this up. But once you set it up, it really just saves you money, and it saves you become much more efficient about what you're doing. Because until you know exactly where your money is going and exactly how much money you have left, you can't really formulate a budget. And if you're not formulating a real budget, then you will never be able to save your money. So once you have your budget clear, you have your vision of how you're going to pay down your credit cards, the next thing that you can start to do is look at, what are you spending your money on that you don't need to be spending your money on? And so for me, it was shoes and clothes and things that I just didn't really need, and wasn't even using. So I came up with a real assessment of what I was going to spend my money on. And then getting smart around, once you're saving all of this money because your due dates are now correct, you're not saving, you're not spending money on late fees and things. It's now you've recouped all this money. What are you gonna do with it, right? So for me, I maxed out my 401k. So your 401k is a tax-free investment that sometimes is matched by your employer. So for me, for every dollar I put in, I think the employer matched it 3%, and then all of that money was tax-free. It helped in that it helped me save. I was also compounding money and interest because the employer was giving money, and in some cases it helped to lower my tax bracket, because you are taxed based on the amount of money that you make. So if you can put away $17,000 a year at the time, I think it was $14,000, then it keeps going up every year of how much money you can put away tax-free, then you can get into a lower tax bracket, and your overall income is taxed a little less, And then, so we talked about a budget, we talked about clearing credit card debt. 3, really looking at what are you spending your money on, and then 2, with this surplus money, what are you buying? So I did my 401k, maxed that out every year. Stocks, like I bought Facebook like way in the beginning in like 2000, I don't know, when it first came out, you know. So I got in Facebook very early. Just invested a lot of money into stocks instead of shoes, you know. And that really kind of helped me to get into a very good overall financial situation. So yes, when we talk about ungrinding, it is not that it just happens out of nowhere. Like, you do have to do some pre-work to ungrind, because you can't feel comfortable like just resting, recharging, and receiving if your bills aren't getting paid. And if you do not plan, your bills will not get paid, and you will, you know, have to continue to be on this rat race. But because I put in some early strategies, I was able to like step off the rat race. So this is the first part of the financial backbone of ungrinding, and I will get into how I'm actually funding my ungrind in a later video, because it's not just like the money part of it for the for funding my ungrind. There's a lot of like mental work that you have to do, a lot of spiritual work that you have to do to really feel comfortable, even though you have the money to ungrind, to actually ungrind. So I don't want to give that next video without really kind of going into all the pre-work of how you can actually ungrind. So I hope this really helped. Please like leave some comments or questions. That's how this topic actually came up, is that people were like, how did you do this? You know, how are you able to just kind of walk away from your job? And the first part of it was just getting out of debt and really making some good investments. And you cannot do that if you are living paycheck to paycheck. If you like this content, please like, share, subscribe. And we'll get into just more of how I mentally, spiritually, and financially was able to do this ungrind, and you will be able to too.